Harold Bennett had always believed that love meant sacrifice. For 42 years, he worked 6 days a week as a mechanic in a small Ohio town. His hands were permanently stained with grease, his back ached every evening, and his dreams of traveling the country disappeared one paycheck at a time. But he never regretted it. Every extra dollar went toward his family's future. His wife, Margaret, spent her life raising their only son, Daniel. She skipped vacations, wore the same winter coat for 10 years, and quietly stitched old clothes instead of buying new ones. "We're building something better for Daniel," she always smiled. Harold believed her. When Daniel graduated college, Harold emptied nearly all his retirement savings to help him avoid student debt. When Daniel got married, Harold and Margaret paid for half the wedding. When the young couple wanted to buy a house, Harold co-signed the mortgage. Every sacrifice felt worthwhile, because that's what parents do. Years passed. Margaret's health slowly declined. What started as arthritis became something far more serious. Doctors diagnosed her with a chronic autoimmune disease. Walking became painful, cooking became exhausting. Some mornings Harold had to help her out of bed. Yet she never complained. "I'm still lucky," she whispered one evening. "I wake up beside you." Harold kissed her forehead. "And I'll always be here." Daniel's career flourished. He became a successful real estate developer. Luxury cars, designer suits, business trips. Photos on social media showed smiling vacations in Italy, Dubai, and Hawaii. Harold smiled every time he saw them. "Our boy made it." Margaret smiled too. "We did something right." One Sunday Daniel invited them for dinner. The table overflowed with expensive food. Their grandson Ethan, now 12, barely looked up from his phone. Daniel's wife, Vanessa, talked excitedly about renovations. "We're expecting another baby." "That's wonderful." Margaret beamed. Daniel nodded. "Actually, that's why we wanted everyone together." Harold noticed the strange tone. Vanessa folded her hands. "Our house is getting crowded." Daniel cleared his throat. "So, we've made a decision." Harold waited. "You two should move out." Silence. Harold blinked. "I'm sorry. Our family needs more room." Vanessa added quickly. "The guest suite would be perfect for the baby." Harold stared at his son. "But, this is our house." Daniel looked uncomfortable. "Technically, yes." Then he said the words Harold would never forget. "You transferred ownership to me 5 years ago." Harold's stomach tightened. Years earlier, Daniel had convinced him it would simplify inheritance taxes. Harold trusted him. Without reading every page, he signed. Now everything legally belonged to Daniel. Margaret's face turned pale. "Daniel, we have nowhere else." Daniel sighed. "You've got a month." Harold couldn't believe what he was hearing. "I spent my entire life paying for this house. And I'm grateful. But my family comes first now." Vanessa quietly looked away. Margaret's eyes filled with tears. Harold stood. Without raising his voice, he simply said, "I hope one day you never understand what you've done." Then he helped Margaret into the car. Neither of them spoke during the drive home. 30 days later, they packed 60 years of memories into cardboard boxes. Wedding photographs, baby shoes, Christmas ornaments, old letters tied with faded ribbons. Margaret held her favorite teacup. "It doesn't fit." Harold gently wrapped it anyway. "It will, even if he wasn't sure where." They rented a tiny apartment above an old pharmacy. 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, no backyard, no porch, no memories. Margaret cried the first night. Not because of the apartment. Because she missed her rose garden. Harold secretly planted 3 rose bushes in pots outside the window. When Margaret discovered them, she smiled through tears. "You remembered." "I remember everything." Life became simple, quiet, peaceful. Harold found part-time work repairing lawn equipment. Every dollar helped with medical bills. Margaret knitted blankets for the children's hospital. Despite everything, they remained kind. 3 years passed. Then life changed again. One rainy afternoon Harold received a call. An unfamiliar lawyer introduced herself. "Mr. Bennett, yes, I'm calling regarding your brother, Richard." Harold froze. "I haven't spoken to Richard in 25 years. I'm sorry to inform you. He passed away." Harold closed his eyes. His older brother had moved to Alaska decades earlier after a family disagreement. Neither man ever reached out again. The lawyer continued. "Mr. Richard Bennett left specific instructions in his will." Harold listened quietly. "He left everything to you." Harold nearly dropped the phone. Richard had built a successful fishing equipment company. Investments, commercial property, savings. The estate exceeded $28 million. Harold sat speechless. The lawyer added, He often told us that family deserved second chances. Margaret cried softly. Your brother forgave you. Harold whispered. I wish I'd told him I was sorry. The inheritance changed everything. But not Harold. They bought a comfortable home. Nothing extravagant. Margaret finally had another garden. Harold established a charitable foundation that repaired homes for elderly veterans free of charge. He donated wheelchairs, paid hospital bills, funded scholarships for mechanics, apprentices. People called him generous. He simply smiled. I know what it's like to need help. News spread quickly, especially through family. One evening Daniel appeared unexpectedly. He looked exhausted, older. His expensive confidence had disappeared. His real estate company had collapsed after several failed investments. The mansion had been sold. Debt followed. Vanessa had left. Daniel stood silently on Harold's porch. I heard. Harold nodded. So it's true. Yes. Daniel lowered his head. I made the biggest mistake of my life. Margaret quietly invited him inside. They drank tea in silence. Finally Daniel spoke. I don't deserve forgiveness. No, Harold answered honestly. You don't. Daniel's eyes filled with tears. I was selfish. I chose comfort over family. I hurt the two people who loved me most. No one interrupted. Then Daniel reached into his jacket. He placed a small envelope on the table. Inside was the original deed to their old house. I managed to buy it back after everything collapsed. It belongs to you. Harold looked at the document. Then gently pushed it back. No. Daniel looked confused. You keep it. What? A house never made us a family. Harold leaned forward. But your choices almost destroyed one. Daniel began crying openly. I'm sorry, Dad. Harold stood. For a long moment neither moved. Then Harold embraced his son. Not because the pain disappeared, but because bitterness had already taken enough years. Margaret joined them, wrapping trembling arms around both men. 3 generations of broken hearts slowly began healing. Months later, Daniel started volunteering with Harold's charity. He repaired roofs, installed wheelchair ramps, painted houses for strangers, never asking for recognition. One afternoon Ethan, now 15, asked his grandfather, "Why did you forgive Dad?" Harold smiled, "Because someone forgave me once. My brother. And because mercy changes people more than revenge ever can." Ethan nodded thoughtfully. "I want to be like you, Grandpa." Harold placed a weathered hand on the boy's shoulder. "No, be better." Years later, people remembered Harold Bennett not because he became wealthy. Not because he inherited millions. Not because he lost everything. They remembered him because when life finally gave him the power to get even, he chose compassion instead, and in doing so, he gave his family something far more valuable than any fortune. He gave them the chance to become a family again.